Story Corner, presented by Jennifer. Warriors, Book 1, Into the Wild, Chapter 12. Okay, now for those of you who have not yet seen the first few videos for Into the Wild, I suggest you go view those now, as this is a continuation of that story. Firepaw peered over the brow of a bush-covered slope. Greypaw and Ravenpaw crouched beside him. Next to them, a group of ThunderClan elders, queens, and warriors waited in the undergrowth for Bluestar to give the signal. Firepaw had not been to this place since his first journey with Lionheart and Tigerclaw. The steep-sided glade looked different now. The rich greenness of the woods had been bleached away by the cold light of the full moon, and the leaves on the trees glowed silver. At the bottom stood the large oaks that marked where the corner of each clan's territory touched the other three. The air was thick with the warm scent of cats from other clans. Firepaw could see them quite clearly in the moonlight, moving around below the grassy clearing that lay between the four oaks. In the center of the clearing, a large, jagged rock rose from the forest floor, like a broken tooth. "Look at all those cats down there," hissed Ravenpaw under his breath. "There's Crooked Star," Greypaw hissed back, "RiverClan's leader." "Where?" Firepaw mewed, nudging Greypaw impatiently. "That light-colored tabby, beside the great rock." Firepaw followed Greypaw's nod and saw a huge Tom, even bigger than Lionheart, sitting at the center of the clearing. His striped coat shone pale in the moonlight. Even from this distance, his old face showed signs of a harsh life. His mouth looked twisted, as if it had once been broken and had healed badly. "Hey," mewed Greypaw, "did you see Sandpaw spit when I told her I hoped she had a nice evening at home?" "You bet," Firepaw purred. Ravenpaw interrupted them with a muffled growl. "Look, there's Broken Star, ShadowClan's leader," he hissed. Firepaw looked down at the dark brown tabby. His fur was unusually long, and his face was broad and flattened. There was a stillness in the way he sat and stared around him that made Firepaw's fur prickle uncomfortably. "He looks pretty nasty," Firepaw muttered. "Yeah," agreed Greypaw. "He certainly's got a reputation among all the clans for not suffering fools gladly. And he's not been a leader that long. 4 moons, ever since his father, Ragged Star, died." "What does the leader of WindClan look like?" Firepaw asked. "Tallstar?" I've never seen him, but I know he's black and white with a very long tail, answered Greypaw. Can you see him now? Asked Ravenpaw. Greypaw peered down, searching the crowd of cats below. Nope. Can you see any Wind Clan cats? Firepaw asked. Greypaw shook his head. No. Lionheart's meow sounded softly beside them. The Wind Clan cats may just be late. But what if they don't turn up at all? Mewed Greypaw. Hush. We must all be patient. These are difficult times. Now keep quiet. Blue Star will give the signal to move soon. Lionheart meowed quietly. As he spoke, Blue Star stood and, holding her tail high, flicked it from one side to the other. Firepaw's heart missed a beat as the ThunderClan cats rose as one and bounded through the bushes, down towards the meeting place. He raced alongside them, feeling the wind rush in his ears and his paws tingle with anticipation. The ThunderClan cats paused instinctively at the edge of the clearing, outside the boundaries of oaks. Blue Star sniffed the air. Then she nodded, and the troop moved forward into the clearing. Firepaw felt thrilled. The other cats looked even more impressive close up, milling about the great rocks. A large white warrior strode past. Firepaw and Ravenpaw looked at him in awe. Look at his paws, Ravenpaw murmured. Firepaw looked down and realized the huge paws of this great Tom were jet black. It must be Blackfoot, mewed Greypaw, ShadowClan's new deputy. Blackfoot stalked over to Broken Star and sat down beside him. The ShadowClan leader acknowledged him with a twitch of one ear, but said nothing. When does the meeting begin? Ravenpaw asked Whitestorm. Be patient, White Ravenclaw, he answered. The sky is clear tonight, so we have plenty of time. Lionheart leaned over and added, We warriors like to spend a little time boasting about our victories, while the elders swap tales about the ancient days before the two lakes came here. All three apprentices looked up at him and saw his whiskers twitch mischievously. Dappletail, One Eye, and Small Ear headed straight off towards a group of elderly cats who were settling themselves below one of the oak trees. Whitestorm and Lionheart strolled over to another pair of warriors whom Firestar did not know. He sniffed the air, recognizing their scent as RiverClan. Blue Star's voice sounded behind the three apprentices. Don't waste any of your time tonight, she warned. This is a good opportunity to meet your enemies. Listen to them. Remember what they look like and how they behave. There is a great deal to be learned from these meetings. And say little, warned Tigerclaw. Don't give away anything that might be used against us once the moon has waned. Don't worry, we won't, Firepaw promised hastily, looking into Tigerclaw's eyes. The feeling that Tigerclaw didn't trust his loyalty lingered with him still. The two warriors nodded and moved on, and the apprentices were left alone. They looked at each other. What do we do now? Firepaw asked. What they say, replied Ravenpaw. Listen, and don't say too much, Greypaw added. Firepaw nodded gratefully. I'm going to see where Tigerclaw went, he mewed. Well, I'm going to find Lionheart, mewed Greypaw. You coming, Ravenpaw? No, thanks, Ravenpaw replied. I'm going to find some of the other apprentices. Okay, we'll meet up later, mewed Firepaw, and he trotted in the direction Tigerclaw had taken. He scented Tigerclaw easily, and found him sitting at the center of the group of huge warriors behind the Great Rock. Tigerclaw was speaking. It was a tale Firepaw had heard many times at camp. Tigerclaw was describing his recent battle against the RiverClan hunting party. I wrestled like a LionClan cat. 3 warriors tried to hold me, but I threw them off. I fought them until 2 lay knocked out and the other had run off into the forest like a kit crying for its mother. This time, Tigerclaw didn't mention killing Oakheart in vengeance for Redtail's death. Perhaps it's so he doesn't offend the RiverClan warriors, Firepaw decided. Firepaw listened politely to the end of the story, but a familiar scent distracted him. As soon as TigerClaw finished speaking, Firepaw turned and crept away, towards the sweet smell which was coming from a group of cats nearby. He found Greypaw sitting amongst these cats, but that was not the scent he followed. Sitting opposite Greypaw, between two RiverClan toms, was Spotted Leaf. Firepaw glanced at her shyly and settled himself beside his friend. Still no scent of WindClan, he mewed to Greypaw. The meeting hasn't begun yet. They may still come, replied his friend. Look, there's Running Nose. He's the new ShadowClan medicine cat, apparently. He nodded towards a small gray and white cat at the center of the group. I can see why they call him Running Nose, Firepaw remarked. The medicine's cat nose was wet at the tip and encrusted around the edges. Yep, replied Greypaw with a scornful growl. I can't see why they appointed him when he can't cure his own cold. Running Nose was telling the other cats about a herb that medicine cats used in the old days to cure kitten cough. Since the two lakes came and filled the place with the hard earth and strange flowers, he complained in a high-pitched yell, the herb has disappeared and kittens died needlessly in cold weather. The cats gathered around him to yell their disapproval. It would never have happened in the time of the great clan cats, growled a Black River Clan queen. Indeed, mewed a silver tabby, the great cats would have killed any two-leg that dare enter their territory. If TigerClan roamed these forests still, two legs would not have built this far into our land. Then Firepaw heard Spotted Leaf's quiet mew. If TigerClan still roamed these forests, we would hardly have made our territory here either. What's TigerClan? Mewed a small voice behind them. Firepaw noticed a little tabby apprentice from one of the other clans sitting beside him. TigerClan is one of the great cat clans that used to roam the forest, Greypaw explained quietly. TigerClan is cats of the night, big as horses, with jet black stripes. Then there's LionClan. Greypaw hesitated, frowning as he tried to remember. Oh, I've heard of them, mewed the tabby. They're as big as TigerClan cats, with yellow fur and golden manes like rays of the sun. Greypaw nodded, and then there's the other one, Spotty Clan, or something like that. I suspect you're thinking of Leopard Clan, young Greypaw, meowed a voice from behind them. Lionheart, Greypaw greeted his mentor with an affectionate touch of his nose. Lionheart shook his head in mock despair. Don't you youngsters know your history? Leopard Clan are the swiftest cats, huge and golden, spotted with black paw prints. You can thank Leopard Clan for the speed and hunting skills you now possess. Thank them? Why? Asked the tabby. Lionheart gazed down at the little apprentice and answered, There is a trace of all the great cats in every cat today. We would not be night hunters without our TigerClan ancestors, and our love of the sun's ward that comes from LionClan. He paused. You are a ShadowClan apprentice, aren't you? How many moons are you? The tabby stared awkwardly down at the ground. 6 moons, he stammered, not meeting Lionheart's eyes. Rather small for 6 moons, Lionheart murmured. His tone was gentle, but his gaze was searching and serious. My mother was small too, the tabby answered nervously. He bowed his head and backed away, disappearing into the crowd of cats with a twitch of his light brown tail. Lionheart turned to Firepaw and Greypaw. Well, he might be small, but at least he was curious. If only you two showed as much interest in the stories your elders tell. Sorry, Lionheart, Firepaw and Greypaw mused, exchanging doubtful glances. Lionheart grunted good-naturedly. Oh, go away, the pair of you. Next time I hope Bluestar decides to bring apprentices who appreciate what they hear. And with a half-hearted growl, he chased them away from the group. Come on, Greypaw purred as they leapt away. Let's see where Ravenpaw's gotten to. Ravenpaw was in the middle of a group of apprentices who were clamoring for him to tell them about the battle with RiverClan. Go on, Ravenpaw. Tell us what happened. A pretty black and white she cat. Ravenpaw shyly shuffled his paws and shook his head. Come on, Ravenpaw, insisted another. Ravenpaw looked around and saw Firepaw and Greypaw at the edge of the crowd. Firepaw nodded encouragingly. Greypaw flicked his tail in acknowledgement and began his story. He stumbled a bit at first, but as he continued, the tremor disappeared from his voice, and his audience listened in, their eyes growing wider. Fur was flying everywhere. Blood spattered the leaves of the bramble bushes, bright red against green. I'd just fought off a huge warrior and sent him squealing into the bushes when the ground shook. I heard a warrior scream. It was Oakheart. Redtail raced past me, his mouth dripping blood and his fur torn. Oakheart is dead, he howled. Then he rushed off to help Tigerclaw as he fought another warrior. Who would have thought Ravenpaw is such a good storyteller? Greypaw murmured to Firepaw, sounding impressed. But Firepaw was thinking of something else. What was it Ravenpaw had said? That Redtail had killed Oakheart? But according to Tigerclaw, Oakheart had killed Redtail, and he, Tigerclaw, had killed Oakheart in revenge. If Redtail killed Oakheart, who killed Redtail? Firepaw hissed to Greypaw. If who did what? Greypaw echoed absentmindedly. He was only half listening to Firepaw. Firepaw shook his head to clear it. Ravenpaw must have mistaken. He thought he must have met Tigerclaw. Ravenpaw was coming to the end of his story. Finally, Redtail dragged the wailing cat off Tigerclaw by his tail, and with the strength of the whole of TigerClan, flung him into the bushes. A moving shadow caught Firepaw's eyes. He glanced around and saw Tigerclaw standing a short distance away. The warrior was watching Ravenpaw with an iron stare. Unaware of his mentor's presence, Ravenpaw continued to answer questions after question from his enthusiastic audience. What were Oakheart's dying words? Is it true that Oakheart never lost a battle before? Ravenpaw replied promptly with his voice high and clear and his eyes shining. But when Firepaw glanced back at Tigerclaw, he saw a look of horror, then fury creep over the warrior's face. Clearly, Tigerclaw wasn't enjoying Ravenpaw's story at all. Firepaw was just about to say something to Greypaw when a loud yell signaled for all the cats for quiet. Firepaw couldn't help feeling relieved as Ravenpaw fell silent at last, and Tigerclaw turned away. Firepaw looked up to see where the yell had come from. 3 cats sat silhouetted against the moonlit sky on top of the great rock. They were Blue Star, Broken Star, and Crooked Star. The clan leaders were about to begin the meeting. But where was the Wing Clan leader? Surely they wouldn't start the meeting without Tall Star. Firepaw hissed under his breath. I don't know, Greypaw muttered back. Haven't you noticed? There isn't a single Wind Clan cat here, whispered a River Clan apprentice from the other side of Firepaw. Firepaw guessed that similar conversations were going on all around him. As the other cats were gathered beneath the great rock, an unsettled murmur rumbled in their throats. We can't start yet, yelled one voice above the noise. Where are the River Clan representatives? We must wait until all the clans are present. On top of the rock, Blue Star stepped forward, her gray fur glowing almost white in the moonlight. Cats of all clans welcome, she mewed in a clear voice. It is true that Wing Clan is not present, but Broken Star wishes to speak anyway. Broken Star padded noiselessly up to stand beside Blue Star. He surveyed the crowd for a few moments, his orange eyes burning. Then he took a deep breath and began. Friends, I come here to speak to you tonight about the needs of ShadowClan. But he was interrupted by raised, impatient voices from below. Where's Tall Star? One called. Where are the Wing Clan warriors? Yelled another. Broken Star stretched up to his full height and lashed his tail from side to side. "As the leader of ShadowClan, it is my right to address you here," he growled in a voice full of menace. The crowd fell into an uneasy silence. All around him, Firepaw could smell the acid tang of fear. Broken yelled again. "We all know that the hard times of Leaf Bear and New Leaf have left us with little prey in our hunting grounds. But we also know that Wind Clan, River Clan, and Thunder Clan lost many kits in the freezing weather that came so late this season. Shadow Clan did not lose kits. We are hardened to the cold north winds. Our kits are stronger than yours from the moment they are born. And so we find ourselves with many mouths to feed and too little prey to feed them." The crowd, still silent, listened anxiously. "The needs of ShadowClan are simple. In order to survive, we must increase our hunting territory. That is why I insist you allow ShadowClan warriors to hunt in your territories." A shocked but mute growl rippled through the crowd. "Steal our hunting grounds?" called the outraged voice of Tigerclaw. "It's unprecedented," cried a tortoiseshell queen from RiverClan. "The clans have never shared hunting rights." "Should ShadowClan be punished because our kits thrive?" yelled Broken Star from the Great Rock. "Do you want us to watch our young starve? You must share what you have with us." "Must," spat Small Ear furiously from the back of the crowd. "Must," repeated Broken Star. Wind Clan failed to understand this. In the end, we were forced to drive them out of their territory. Snarls of outrage burst from the crowd, but Broken Star's caterwauling rang above them all. "And if we have to, we shall drive you all from your hunting grounds in order to feed our hungry kits." There was an instant silence. On one side of the clearing, Firepaw heard a RiverClan apprentice start to mutter something, but he was quickly hushed by an elder. Satisfied that he had every cat's attention, Broken Star continued. "Each year, the Two Lakes spoil more of our territory. At least one clan must remain strong. If all of the clans are to survive, ShadowClan thrives while you all struggle. And there may come a time when you will need us to protect you." "You doubt our strength?" hissed Tigerclaw. His pale eyes glared threateningly at the ShadowClan leader, and his powerful shoulders rippled with tension. "I do not ask for your answer now." Broken Star ignored the warrior's challenge. "You must each go away and consider my words. But bear in mind, would you prefer to share your prey or be driven out and left homeless and starving?" Warriors, elders, and apprentices looked at one another in disbelief. In the anxious pause that followed, Crooked Star stepped forward. "I have already agreed to allow ShadowClan some hunting rights in the river that runs through our territory," he yelled quietly, gazing down at his clan. Horror and humiliation rippled through the RiverClan cats at their leader's words. We were not consulted," called a grizzled silver tabby. "I feel this is best for our clan, for all the clans," Crooked Star explained, his voice heavy with resignation. "There are plenty of fish in the river. It is better to share our prey than to spill blood fighting over it." "And what of ThunderClan?" Small Ear croaked. "Blue Star, have you two agreed to this outrageous demand?" Blue Star unwaveringly met the old cat's gaze. "I have made no agreement with Broken Star except that I shall discuss his proposal with my clan after the gathering." "Well, at least that's something," muttered Greypaw in Firepaw's ear. "We'll show them we're not as soft as that yellow-bellied river clan." Broken Star spoke up again, his rasping voice sounding arrogant and strong after Crooked Star's surrender. "I also bring news that is important to the safety of your kits. A ShadowClan cat has turned rogue and spurned the warrior's coat. We chased her out of our camp, but we do not know where she is now. She looks a mangy old creature, but she has a bite like TigerClan." Firepaw's fur bristled. Could Broken Star possibly be talking about Yellowfang? He pricked up his ears, curious to hear some. to hear more. She is dangerous. I warn you, do not offer shelter to her. And, Broken Star paused dramatically, until she is caught and killed, I urge you to keep a close eye on your kits. Firepaw knew from the nervous growls that rumbled in the throats of the ThunderClan cats that they too had thought of Yellowfang. The bold she-cat had done nothing to endear herself to her reluctant hosts, and Firepaw guessed it wouldn't take much to drum up hatred against her. Even the words of a despised enemy like Broken Star would be enough. The ShadowClan warriors began to push their way out through the throng of cats. Broken Star leapt down from the rock, and his warriors immediately surrounded him and escorted him away from 4 trees, back into ShadowClan territory. The remaining ShadowClan cats followed quickly behind, including the undersized tabby Lionheart had questioned earlier. But among the other ShadowClan apprentices, the tabby no longer looked unusually small. They all looked tiny and unnourished, more like kits of 3 or 4 moons than full-fledged apprentices. What do you think of that? Greypaw mewed in a low voice. Ravenpaw bounded over before Firepaw could reply. What's going to happen now? He wailed, his fur fluffed up in alarm and his eyes wider than ever. Firepaw didn't answer. The elders of ThunderClan were gathering nearby, and he was straining to hear what they were saying. That must be Yellowfang he was talking about, growled Small Ear. Well, she did snip at Goldenflower's youngest kit the other day, muttered Speckletail darkly. She was the oldest nursery queen, and fiercely protective of all the kits. And we left her behind with the camp virtually unguarded, wailed One Eye, who for once seemed to be having no trouble hearing everything. I tried to tell you she was a danger to us, hissed Darkstripe. Bluestar has to listen to reason now and get rid of her before she harms any of our young. Tigerclaw strolled up to the group. We must return to the camp at once and deal with this rogue, he yowled. Firepaw didn't stop to hear more. His mind was spinning. Loyal as he was to his clan, he just couldn't believe that Yellowfang would be a danger to kits. Frightened for the old she-cat, burning with questions only she could answer, he raced away from Greypaw and Ravenpaw without a word. He charged up the hillside and pelted through the forest. Had he been mistaken about Yellowfang? If he warned her about the danger she was in, would he be risking his own position in ThunderClan? Whatever trouble he got himself into, he had to find out the truth from her before the other cats got back to the camp.